Welcome back to the coverage of YCS London. We are in the second day. It's the second round for today, which makes round 10 in the tournament. And now we have another bubble match. That means if you're winning this match, you still have a chance to make it to the top 32. If you're losing the match, you're out of competition for winning the tournament. My name is Oliver German. I'm your host for the weekend, and this is Matthew Bale from the Konami offices.
Hey everyone, how are you doing today?
We have just seen a very exciting matchup between Shaddolls and Tellarknights.
Yeah, that was a really good game we just had. Really enjoyed watching that. The full house play was so clutch. And I was actually talking to one of the guys on the Zoom table afterwards. I was like, oh, did you think there was any other moves he could have made to not lose? And he said, well, maybe just making the Gaia charger. And then he's got the piercing monster, the threaten game, even if the opponent has breakthrough.
Yeah.
So perhaps that would have been a better option.
Could have made the difference, yes. One decision is all it takes today. This is where it counts the most.
Yeah, this next round is the very final round of Swiss before we cut to the top 32. So any mistake you make here is almost locking yourself out of the competition if you're on an X2 record at this stage.
Right. So the air is getting thinner and thinner. We just have 3 more players undefeated in the tournament. Everybody else has taken at least 1 loss. One of the undefeated players is Patrick Rieder, who we just interviewed in between rounds, or you saw the interview in between rounds, the winner of last year's YCS London. We have some other household names that are at the very top of the standings, but we again put the spotlight on 2 players that have to win to be in, or if they lose, they will be out. One of them is the reigning European champion, Eugen Heidt.
Eugen is an excellent player. We saw him in YCS Madrid making it all the way to the top 4, finishing 3rd after that event.
So he was showing it. It wasn't a fluke victory or anything like that. He is there. He's like in the zone at the moment.
He won the European Championships, made 3rd in a very competitive YCS.
Yes.
He played in the World Championships, although his performance in the World Championships was not, well, I'd say stellar, but I feel like with the monster type, that might be just a bit terrible.
Well, then again, there are 20 of the best players of the world at the World Championship. We now take you over to the table where Eugen is going up against Shaun from the UK. Another player that we have seen before in the coverage. It's been a while, to be honest, but he does have some experience playing at the top tables. Shaun is on the left. He's playing Tellarknights. And on the right-hand side, you see Eugen playing Shaddolls.
Some interesting things with Shaun's deck is he's actually playing 2 copies of Ice Hand and 2 copies of Fire Hand. Alongside his Tellarknight lineup, which is 3 Deneb, 3 Eltar, 1 Unakai, and 1 Vega. He's playing main deck Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, which I'm hearing from a lot of high-level players is if you're not playing the Shadow or Burning Abyss, you should be main decking the Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. Seeing people on high records doing the same is kind of reinforcing that. Eugen is playing a Shadow deck utilizing the Artifact Engine. It looks very, very standard, this deck. One of the most interesting things, actually, for Shaun is in his extra deck, he's playing 1 copy of number 39, Utopia.
Oh!
Apparently, he's also playing main copies of Mirror Force. And I've been told that he summons Utopia, sets a Mirror Force, his opponent goes, okay, I'll just attack and waste a material, and then just runs them into Mirror Force.
That's a very interesting baiting technique.
I'm wondering if it works or if we see it in here or if that was just somebody messing with me. Saying, oh, yeah, I'm justifying this.
Well, Shaun is the kind of guy that would do something like that, isn't he?
I believe so, yeah.
So Eugen goes first in this match. He has a Foolish Burial. Usually that is a -1. It just sends a card from your deck to the graveyard. However, with all the Shadow monsters triggering in the graveyard, he can easily turn that into an advantage for himself.
Yes, he sent the Squamata to the graveyard and then the Squamata activated and sent the Shadow Falco to the graveyard. So now Falco has a target to get out of the graveyard, which will be the Squamata, which then also destroys the card. So it's a very good start. It puts Eugen in a good position.
Speaking of good starts, Shaun has the #1 opening for Tellarknights, which is the Tellarknight Deneb. We have seen that in the last match as well. It's basically like an elemental hero Stratos for this particular archetype. When it's summoned, no matter how it was summoned, if it's a special summon or a normal summon, you get to search your deck for a Tellarknight. Most of the time that's in an Altair, and add it to your hand. And the #1 combo of the deck is doing this as step 1, and then step 2 after Deneb has bit the dust. You get to summon Altair and bring back Deneb to perform an Exceed summon.
It's an interesting choice on pot duality. He's got Dimensional Prison, a Tellarknight Unukai High, and a Breakthrough Skill. Shaun's going to be very familiar with this match and make a decision. The key thing here is for Eugen is to figure out, based on this decision, if he can make any reads on Shaun's hand.
Yeah.
And cards like Dimensional Prison are actually can be considered questionable in a matchup where Shadoll Dragon is likely to, if you give your opponent a free fusion, Shadoll Dragon is one of the cards that's going to be sent, and Dimensional Prison cannot be chained. But then if you do manage to catch a construct in a Dimensional Prison or a Winder, it's an answer to the card without giving them the Shadoll fusion back.
Right. Also, Shaun already has a prison in his hand. He does have a Raigeki in his hand. In case you haven't been watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Lately, yes, Raigeki is back. It's making a surprise appearance at some of the tables. This is like the first time somebody main decks the card, isn't it?
Raigeki has actually been considered by a lot of players to be side deck card at best because of the Shadoll and Burning Abyss matchups, which everyone's anticipating. Right,
because all of those Shadoll cards and the Burning Abyss monsters trigger when they get sent to the graveyard, so you don't mind losing that too much. Let's take a look at Shaun's options here. He's got a Stellar Nova Alpha that is not doing anything without a Tellarknight on the field. He's got a Dimensional Prison and a Mystical Space Typhoon. He doesn't waste the Space Typhoon and just like blindly hitting one of the two back row cards that Eugen has, which are Shadoll Core and Sinister Shadow Games.
Yeah, both of those chainable, and well, the Core can get back a Shadoll Spell or Trap card from the graveyard. There isn't any, but Shaun doesn't need to use his Mystical Space Typhoon here. He's playing a deck which can fall victim to Vanity's Emptiness, so he wants to hold that Mystical Space Typhoon until he really needs it.
Yeah. Oh, now he used Reinforcement of the Army to simply search for the next Tellarknight, so even if DNAP was denied the search, he has plenty of other ways to search his deck. In this case, Reinforcement of the Army, another old school card that is making an appearance again, brings back the DNAP. This time, Eugen doesn't have an answer, which means that DNAP is getting to search, and it just searches for the next Altair. So as you can see, Shaun is running through the iterations here. He will do his move a few more times, get familiar with it.
Oh, he's playing.
There is Raigeki, finally, we got this.
He knows that's Shadoll Beast face down, because that's the only tribute monster that the Shadoll deck is going to play.
Right.
Oh, Stellar Nova Alpha also being chained to stop the Sinister Shadow Games. He does not want that beast allowing Eugen to get some filtering.
Yeah, so here we see the respective trap cards that are the normal inclusion for those archetypes. Sinister Shadow Games that allow you to flip all face-down defense position monsters, which is triggering their flip effects. On the other side of the field, we do have the Stellar Nova Alpha, which is a little bit like a solemn judgment, without the investment of half your life points. Instead, you simply have to tribute one of the Tellarknights. And as you can see, most of the time you do have a Tellarknight on the field.
And the card replaces itself after it's successfully negated something. So you're not really losing steam, and you're getting very, very powerful answers to a huge range of scenarios. And cards, Eugen having two Artifact Moraltech in hand.
That's just terrible for him.
It actually makes Shaun's Raigeki play so much better here, because he's denied the activation of Shadoll Beast, which would give Eugen the filtering to start drawing out of this. And he was so happy to force that Raigeki through that he would play his Stellar Nova Alpha on Sinister Shadow Games to keep Eugen in this weak position.
Yes. So was there a chance that Shaun had a read on Eugen's hand? Possibly not, right? He couldn't have guessed that there were like two Moral Tugs waiting there.
He wouldn't have guessed the two Moral Tugs. I don't believe that would be reasonable, but once the Stellar Knight starts to get a bit of an advantage, it just keeps churning out this
very good at maintaining that advantage.
Yeah, and if at any point Eugen stumbles and doesn't have an answer to one of these plays, there's another threat that comes down immediately afterwards.
Right. So this is these are the cards that Shaun is holding on to, and he just drew into another one. Just in case you're wondering what Eugen did on his last turn, he did set one of the Moral Tugs and a Sinister Shadow Games. So pretty much dead at this point in time. He has to hope that Shaun destroys the Moral Tug, but that's not very likely now, is it?
Well, there is an ice hand there, so there's a high possibility that Shaun could potentially get greedy and hit a Moral Tug if Eugen plays his cards right.
We haven't seen the hands for a while. Those are very interesting cards. When they are destroyed by your opponent's card. It doesn't matter if it's by battle or by a card effect and sent to your graveyard, which most of the time is the case. You can target a spell or trap card in case of Ice Hand. In case of Fire Hand, you can target a monster. And then you destroy that and can special summon the other hand. So in case of Ice Hand, that would be Fire Hand, and the other way around.
Yeah, it's a very powerful cycle here.
So the interesting thing is, Eugen does activate the Sinister Shadow Games, so he only has one more face-down target. So if the Ice Hand would get to be destroyed, there's a very high chance that Shaun would shoot on that Moral Tach, which he really doesn't want to do. But, or is there a chance that he simply doesn't use the effect?
He might choose not to. I don't know. Shaun actually does have Vanity's Emptiness face down, but then he would block his own Ice Hand out.
So both players currently have Vanity's Emptiness on their field. Another card that we have been talking about quite a bit lately. It has an effect that first seems so fair because both players get to special summon any monsters. However, like we said in the round before, since you are the one who is choosing when to activate it, you simply wait for a scenario where you are ahead. You have performed all the special summons that you wanted to perform. Shaun is about to perform one here. And then after you have mustered up your field pretty much, you flip the Vanity's Emptiness and deny your opponent the very same chance to fight back.
Oh, this is clever. This is Heartland Draco, which is number 82. It has the ability to direct attack. As long as you control face-up spell or trap, it can't be attacked. But he's not going to give Huygen... he's not going to give Huygen the Shaddolls Falco he wants to get off. He's just going to jump straight over his over Huygen's monster and straight at his life points. This way, Huygen's going to be forced to flip the Shaddolls Falco into Shaun's Vanity's Emptiness.
That's like one of the greatest moves we've seen this weekend, isn't it?
Well, Shaun knows that that's a Shaddolls Falco, and he doesn't want to give Huygen any room to get back into this game. So he's like, okay, well, I'm going to force you to flip summon it, and I can just respond when it's good for me.
He also got rid of his own Ice Hand, which he didn't want to get triggered. I mean, he could opt to not activate the effect, but that doesn't seem very likely. Something that he might have not been perfectly aware of, but in this situation was a pretty good choice. What I'm wondering here is, why we're not seeing Eugen flipping his Vanity's Emptiness? Am I missing something?
It's a good question. I mean, if he flips the Vanity's Emptiness here, he's in a terrible position. Oh, that's number 39 Utopia also backing up the Heartland Drago. So Huygen can't even attack the Heartland Drago because Utopia will protect it, and then Heartland Drago will attack straight over him again.
So somebody has been watching those Sexile commercials and making the most of them.
Oh yeah, Shaun is feeling the flow. The interesting thing here is Huygen, if he'd have used his Vanity's Emptiness, he would have locked himself out and he wouldn't have a way of dealing with
And he immediately scoops up his cards, yeah. Eugen, he knows is one out in this situation. He can see on his body language he's not impressed here. Whereas Shaun is just like, yeah, I got this. And I just won with Utopia on the field and I played a Raigeki at the same turn. That's going to make me a legend for sure.
Huygen, I would say, was definitely outplayed in that game. Shaun knew exactly how to keep Huygen stumbling as much as possible, which is actually kind of funny because in the European Championships in Amsterdam, Huygen was keeping Marcel in a limping position throughout the final duel, stopping him getting into the game while he just deployed his powerful cards. And Shaun did the same here and then just found the sneaky way to just keep Huygen moving so slowly to the point where even Huygen's own Vanity's Emptiness would have meant I can't deal with my opponent's field even if I flip it.
Yeah, so I got to say, I'm really impressed with Shaun playing this here. Not just because he played a Raigeki, because some people might be taking away this one. No, but he definitely seemed like he did have a plan going into this match, and he, well, followed it through until the very end. Yeah,
the Heartland Drago was a surprise, but because it was a two-turn clock, as opposed to any of the other options he could have went for, but he knew what his back row is, he knew what his opponent's face-down card was, and he just said, yeah, I can win over 2 turns. It's very unlikely Huygen's going to get out of this.
All right, guys. We have a look at the side decks of those guys. We see a D-Fusion in Shaun's side deck, something that we have first seen, at least, well, I did, in Madrid, with Joshua Schmidt playing that in the side deck against Shaddolls.
Yeah, very, very powerful one-card answer to the Shaddolls Fusions. It's proving to be a very popular choice amongst players. Other options that Shaun's actually playing in his extra deck. He's playing Backwater Heaven, which we're not going to see because it doesn't answer Shaddolls Fusion. Another dimensional prison, which might come in, I'm not sure. I'm still iffy about that one. Wiretap, which could come in, especially when Shadoll decks are playing high trap lineups and things like Vanity's Emptiness, Breakthrough Skill, Sinister Shadow games, cards that you don't really want your opponent to resolve.
Yeah. Let's take a look at Eugen's list. Is there anything special in his side deck here? I was about to say we're missing the Monarch Stormfall, the card we have seen all day long in the side decks, but no, he's playing 2 copies of that.
The Malevolent Catastrophe might come in for Eugen because the Tellarknights deck is known for putting lots of cards down on the field to keep control. And most likely the double trap stun is also coming in from Eugen, so he can actually get into the game and deny his opponent the chance to respond for an entire turn. Because trap stun is a really interesting one because if he activates it before he commits to the plays, even Shaun won't be able to use his counter traps either.
Yeah. Trap stun also has some incredible synergies with Vanity's Emptiness because if you have a face-up Vanity's Emptiness, your opponent is like, okay, my opponent is not going to special summon any monsters, which means he cannot push for a big turn or something like that. If you then flip a trap stun, the effects of the Vanity's Emptiness are getting negated, which means it does not bite the dust, because normally it gets destroyed when one of your cards is sent to your graveyard.
Yep.
And at the same time, for this turn, you're not only free to special summon monsters in any way you want, you're also safe from disruptive trap card effects. So it's like a double trouble for your opponent, the Vanity's Emptiness together with trap stun.
Yeah, if you're in a position where you're capitalizing on that sort of play, there's a very strong chance that you're winning that game. It's, you know, unless you've got nothing else to follow that up, you're probably winning.
Right. So here we go with the hands in the second game, and those guys are not wasting any time. This is Shaun's opening, but Eugen is starting. The Mathematician is most likely already on the field because he's searching his deck. He also has a Trap Stun, which we just mentioned, 2 copies of Artifact Sanctum, which are not too bad, and a Call of the Haunted. As you can see, he did start with Mathematician, and once again going with the somewhat normal Shadow combos here. Sending to the graveyard, triggering effect, sending another card to the graveyard, and so on and so on and so on.
Yeah, it's a very typical start for Shaddolls. Those 2 Artifact Sanctums are going to be very, very powerful, especially going first because he's now got a lot of disruption. He's not drawn any of the Morale Tax this turn, this game.
So Eugen is out of cards in his hand, but he doesn't mind that because there's no Heavy Storm in the format. Shaun, on the other hand, has a Thunder King Ryo. That's definitely a card that was introduced from the side deck. He also has the all-important Breakthrough Skill, a Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, a second card from the side deck, denying the Shaddolls all their effects. And, well, he's missing Deneb. And Altair is not really good without a target in the graveyard. He does have Vega, however. So at Tellarknight, we don't see that often.
The worst trap that Shaun could fall in is if he tries to summon Vega and bring up the Altair for a quick Xe summon, he will run straight into an Artifact Sanctum. So, yeah, Shaun's aware that that's overcommitting to 4-card back row from Eugen, so he just summons the Fire Hand. Which is
a very good opening here, isn't it?
Yeah, because it can play around the Artifact Morale Tax, because even if Artifact Sanctum is flipped and Morale Tax comes down, destroys the Fire Hand will trigger, destroy the Morale Tax, and get an Ice Hand. So Shaun, it's actually a much safer play for Shaun, knowing that Eugen is playing the an Artifact engine.
Right. He did put Breakthrough Skill and Shadow Imprisoning Mirror face down, so now he's got some sort of protection of his own. The Shadow Imprisoning Mirror can deal with the Shadow Falco that is face down on the field for Eugen and deny it the flip effect.
The thing with Shadow Imprisoning Mirror is it's a card that sits face up on the field, so it will fall victim to Morale Tack.
And also we got Trap Stun, another answer, possible answer for at least for 1 turn. So Eugen is checking all of these face down cards that he has.
And there's a Trap Stun.
There's the Trap Stun, which is interesting. There's a Breakthrough Skill in the chain, and now we're not going to see. Of course, we're not going to see another the Trap Stun. He just has one. If he would have started with Artifact Sanctum, that wouldn't have been much better, because the end result, he doesn't want to flip his own Trap Stun to negate his own Artifact Sanctum, does he?
Yeah, that would be awful. Yeah, I've got no other words for it. So Eugen, he's going for Call of the Haunted on the top of the chain.
All right.
So he'll be able to perform a Synchro Summon. He's going for the Shaddoll Fusion. And the trap cards are also turned off for the turn because of Trap Stun.
And he goes for Winder, a card that we have seen yesterday making some waves, mostly because Winder got summoned to the field. In case you're not familiar with the card, this is one of the new cards. or one of the powerhouses in the Shaddolls archetype. One of the most important lines is cannot be destroyed by an opponent's card effect. Yesterday we have seen a Winder hitting play and an opponent flipping a bottomless trap hole. That didn't work out so well.
Yep, and here the important thing is Fire Hand has to destroy a target in order to special summon Ice Hand, and it can, Winder will not be destroyed, so the chain of the hands just gets stopped dead in its tracks.
That was a very good play for Eugen.
Yeah, that worked out well for Eugen. It was a heavy chain situation. He still has 2 Artifact Sanctums backing him up. And Shaun is in a pretty...
He does have a Blackluster Soldier in his hand, so the pressure from Eugen will keep coming. That is his field again. 2 copies of Artifact Sanctum face down. Face up Call of the Haunted. That's not going to do anything for the rest of this day.
Yeah, we're probably going to see Artifact Sanctum taking out 1 monster. Shaun is going to be in a terrible position there.
Yeah, he now has to commit to the Vega and Altair play that we mentioned earlier is terrible, or was terrible on the first turn. It's obviously it's not much better now.
Yeah, he's forced to use the breakthrough skill for Winder in order to try and give himself the opportunity to XE summon. But what could happen now is Eugen can make number 61, blow up the Vega, and then summon Blackluster Soldier if he wants to. Does he play Gaia Charger?
Well, so as soon as Shaun committed to that play, Eugen flipped his Artifact Sanctum to destroy one of the monsters.
Yeah.
So Shaun is like all out of options here. He does have a Call of the Haunted that doesn't do much. And yeah, now he's just watching his opponent tearing him apart, isn't he?
Yeah, Shaun is going to be struggling to get back into this game because there's another Artifact Sanctum face down and a new card being added, which is called
Shaddolls Core.
Oh, Shaddolls Core, sorry.
Yes. So this is looking really, really good for Eugen. Shaun now has to find something. He does have a Thunder King Ryo in his hand, but that's not doing much. The card he drew, we don't know quite yet. We couldn't make it out. Ah, there it is.
There's a DNUP off the top.
It's a DNUP. That's helping because DNUP is allowing him to search his deck again, search for another Tellarknight, and he does have the Call of the Haunted face down, so he can perform another special summon. One more special summon. The problem is that the opposing Winder is limiting him to only perform 1 special summon per turn. So this is a big problem for him. He cannot go for an Exceed summon that might get him out of this sticky situation.
So an interesting thing with Shaun is he's probably going to want to flip the Call of the Haunted in his opponent's turn if he can survive the attack without using it. So then he can use 1 special dice to pick up his cards.
Yeah, but like, there's nothing he could do. Like, Eugen knew that he was far ahead here. He now activates his Artifact Sanctum again to destroy yet another card of Shaun, and I think it didn't even matter which card he would pick.
He just takes the DNUP out.
In any
and
case,
he'll have enough with attacks.
Exactly. In any case, he has so much damage on board, and Shaun sees the writing on the wall. It's like big and clear. So he just picks up his cards, not wasting any time. And again, we're going to side decking.
Yeah. The Thunder King Ryo came in for Shaun in that game. I'm just trying to think of the cards that it's really good against. I'm kind of just seeing Shadow Hedgehog, right? It says cards can't be added from your hand, deck to your hand. So it doesn't say anything about adding cards. Except by drawing.
Yeah.
But you can still add cards from your graveyard. So I'm actually curious about the Thunder King, because there's also not a lot of XC summons coming out of the Shadow decks for him to negate, or Synchro summons.
Yeah.
And Shadow Fusion is Shadow Fusion.
It's just an amazing card, yeah. So it didn't seem like the best choice. It doesn't look like... we do have the standings up for you guys before we could go back to the match with both players shuffling at the moment. So let's take a look at those real quick. These are the standings after the last round, of course. We don't have the results in for this round. So still on top of the field, Luke Quincy, one of the 2 Quincy brothers. He's going up against Patrick Reeder in this round. So after this round, there will just be 1 undefeated player. And in hot pursuit are quite a few household names that we have had before. If you're cheering for Switzerland, Reto Canova here is putting up a great performance this weekend.
Yeah, interestingly, Patrick Reeder last round played against Jake Quincy and knocked down the first Quincy, and now he's going after the second.
Yeah, it's Austria versus the UK. All right, we're going back to our game where both players are almost done shuffling here, and it didn't seem like they were doing a lot of side decking here. They felt confident with the choices that they made after the first game, didn't they?
Yeah, the question is, like, for Shaun there is, in this final game, I get to go first. are there any cards that are better for me going first? But I would have started out going, if I know I'm going second against my opponent, when my opponent has a chance to play a bunch of cards. So maybe Shaun's made a couple of changes because of that. We'll wait and see for what happens.
All right, just something that we messed up prior to this match. It's 3 rounds of Swiss today. I wasn't quite sure earlier. So it was 8 rounds yesterday and 3 more rounds today. So don't expect us to go to the top 32 after this match. It's round 10 at the moment, and we will have an 11th round after this before we perform a second cut in this tournament.
Okay, so turn 1, Shaun is playing Pot of Duality, and he revealed Advantage Emptiness, an Ice Hand, and a Dimensional Prison. He decides to take the Dimensional Prison and add that to his hand. He currently has no monsters, so he's quite desperately to...
Yeah, this is his hand, and it's going to change in just a second. You can see lots of cards going face down, so this is his field now. Compulsory Evacuation Device, Dimensional Prison, and Breakthrough Skill. His opponent, Eugen, on the other hand, did draw into a monster. He does have Trap Stun, Shadow Fusion, Shadow Core. Oh, yeah, he does have one monster, Shadow Beast, which he cannot summon because it's a level 5 monster. A Super Polymerization. The first time we've seen this card this weekend. It was making a lot of noise back in Madrid, and this weekend it's keeping a little bit more quiet.
Yeah, the Super Polymerization could be very big for Eugen here, because he can use it to fuse with any of the Tellarknights for an El Shaddol construct, which can break up Shaun's play. For example, he summons the Altair, then gets blown out by Super Polymerization, and then he's left with a monster that doesn't stand up to construct.
Right. So with the second Pot of Duality, Shaun did find a monster, and it's the most important monster in his deck, I might add. It's the Tellarknight Dineb. Before he can even activate it, there's a Shaddol Core from Eugen, or did Shaun just pass here? I can't imagine that. No. So there's an MST chained to the Shaddol Core to deny Eugen the effect.
Yeah, he doesn't want his opponent to have a monster there.
And now there is Dineb. And it's going to search for Altair. Should be a fortune teller at this point.
Perhaps Shaun actually read the potential Super Polymerization play there, because he's destroyed the core, because the core becomes a monster that can be used as a Shadow of any attribute.
Yeah.
And it seems like a random time to flip up the core before your opponent's committed to an attack. So perhaps Shaun has made a read based on the information presented to him by Eugen.
Interesting, yeah. Definitely not a misplay. It was working out well in Shaun's favor. Now he's got the Dineb here. He added the Altair to his hand. He's also got a Call of the Haunted in his hand. And that means first blood in this game. And so I'm just wondering, why is it 6? Yeah, 6-5, of course. Yeah, we're fine. So Eugen still holding on to the Shadow Fusion, Shadow Beast. He did draw into a Mystical Space Typhoon, but that went face down in just a second.
Eugen wants Shaun to commit to an extra deck summon here. Shaun just deciding, actually, you know what, I'm just gonna hit you again and wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, there doesn't seem to be anything he has to do, because once Eugen commits, Shaun can come back with an Altair play. The new card that Eugen did draw was Mathematician, summon it to the field, and now he's gonna send something to his graveyard, most likely.
Here's another reason that the Mathematician probably won the argument of Armageddon Knight versus Mathematician, because Mathematician actually has enough attack points to crash into Dineb and draw Eugen a card.
Well, another reason is with so many Shadow Imprisoning Mirrors from the side decks getting introduced for games 2 and 3, Mathematician as an Earth monster. Normally you would say Earth doesn't have a lot of synergies with the other cards in the deck. That's an advantage. In this case, it doesn't get hit by the anti-card.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, so here's the Mathematician sending...
Shadow Hedgehog to the graveyard.
Hedgehog, yeah, a little ball with spikes.
Yeah, that'll allow Eugen to search his deck for another Shadow monster to pair with his in-hand Shadow Fusion and Shadow Beast, so he'll be able to get a flurry of effects next turn.
Yeah, so Eugen is setting up for the following turns, and he's doing a pretty good job at that. Shaun is... He does have that on his mind. He's aware of that, so what's his play here? Like, he needs to step on the gas?
Shaun needs to be a little bit careful here with his battery. He's under Trap Stun this turn, so he's not going to be able to respond to anything. So we'll we'll see how Huygen makes use of this window.
Well, he can... His altairs in hand, he has 2 of them. They are not live yet. With the DNAP still on the field, he definitely wants to wait for DNAP hitting the graveyard.
Yeah, Shaun is... his only play here is thinking about next turn because of the trap stun.
So there is the Shadow Fusion. And Shaun doesn't really have an answer here, does he? He has a Dimensional Prison, Call of the Haunted, and Compulsory Evocation device. However, he doesn't mind anything hitting play here because all of the all of the Shaddolls fusion monsters, ritual monsters, excuse me, don't have any effects when they hit play. It's mostly either when they attack or when they die.
Yeah.
So Winder is coming out?
Yeah, Winder is putting that special summon problem for Shaun, but Shaun does have the breakthrough skill in graveyard ready to give himself a window. We'll see. Huygen's probably just going to push these 2 monsters to attack. Oh, he's sent a Shadoll Dragon. Call of Haunted cannot be changed because of the trap stun this turn.
And there's no target in the graveyard either.
Yeah, that's another problem against Call of Haunted.
Yeah. But it's... I mean, Shaun would have liked to see his Compulsory Evocation device getting targeted because he could have just changed that.
Well, he's still on the trap stun, so...
Oh, right,
yeah,
right.
he's not going to be able to... His back row is completely dead. That's the problem. When you come to long events like this, you get really long hours. Things like that happen quite early in the turn. Sometimes they get forgotten. It's not to the fault of the players. Mental fatigue does play a part of it. So Shaun being very, very aware that there is a trap stun, so he doesn't...
Yeah,
Huygen doesn't just
you can tell. He's like putting the card away right away, not wasting any time, taking the damage, not wondering about that or like, what can I do here? I mean, the only thing he could have done is like look at his cards to give his opponent an idea, like make him guess if there's this quick play spell card, but that's also not very likely in this archetype, so why try?
Quick play spells are on a down at the moment. I mean, Book of Moon still sees quite a bit of play, but otherwise, we saw Enemy Controller yesterday. Not seeing things like Shrink or anything like this. Not anymore.
Yep. So Shaun did draw into a Stellanova Alpha, which is really strong. He has to wonder about those 3 face-down cards on Eugen's side of the field, which are Super Polymerization, Mystical Space Typhoon, and a Call of the Haunted. He attempts and succeeds in bringing Deneb back, which allows him to search his deck again. Eugen doesn't feel threatened here because that's the one special summon per turn that Shaun is getting. In case you're wondering why does he only have 1, again, it's El Shadow Winder's effect. It allows your opponent or both players to only perform 1 special summon per turn. And now Shaun will most likely activate his compulsory to get rid of Winder, won't he?
Yeah, he might. He's likely to get blown out by the super polymerization.
Yeah, so I am a fortune teller indeed. He does activate the compulsory, but now the question is, will Eugen chain the super polymerization? There it is for you guys. He does. Both of us are fortune tellers.
There you go, we're getting good at this.
He has to discard 1 card, which is not a big problem in the Shadoll archetype because you have so many effects that trigger when cards are getting sent to the graveyard. And it is the super version of the old school polymerization. He can now use an opponent's card and his own cards to perform a fusion summon. And his fusion summon in this case is an El Shadoll construct.
Breakthrough skill being pulled out from the graveyard to stop the construct from sending any more cards from deck to the graveyard. And the newly set Stellar Nova Alpha
gets hit by an MST right away.
Taken out by MST.
It's also a very big play. Otherwise, when El Shadoll construct would have attacked and the effect triggered when it attacks, you could have used Stellar Nova Alpha to get rid of it. So very, very bad news indeed for Shaun, and very good news for the reigning European champion.
Shaun is sitting on a Dimensional Prison, which was added to his hand very early with Pot of Duality. If Huygen hasn't forgotten about that, we're likely to see the Mathematician sending maybe Squamata, then Dragon, or definitely sending Dragon away to take out the back row before before he's going to run that construct in.
There is the Mathematician.
And there's a Dragon, and there's a Dimensional Prison.
Yeah, no surprise here.
Yeah, Huygen is not likely to forget.
Yeah, if you're still aware of the Pot of Duality that was activated early on in that game, Shaun now, the way he shuffled seemed like a little bit angry, to be honest. He seemed like, this is really not going my way. And Eugen checking his graveyard to make sure that he's not forgetting any effects here, and also buying himself some more time to think about his next move. Although it seems somewhat obvious, I mean, with that field, Call of the Haunted construct and a Mathematician, he's sitting in a very good position.
I think Eugen might be actually calculating, can he win this turn?
Ah, so here's an attack with the construct. And Shaun has no response, of course, in case you're wondering. Shaun has 2 copies of Altair in his hand, so he has some follow-up plays here, especially since he's not under the effect of Winder that we've seen before, so he's free to perform as many special summons as he wants. And Eugen doesn't really have anything to stop him from that. However, he does have this crucial Call of the Haunted, and he's pushing for quite a bit here with Winder and a Mathematician. And now Shaun is again under the effect of Winder, and he only has 1 special summon per turn, and that is proving crucial. He just points.
Yeah, he just points at that card.
Yeah,
that's the reason that he can't actually get back into this game.
Yes. Without Winder, everything would have been fine, but Eugen knowing that, and that's the reason, not only because it has so much attack, also because of its effect, this is the reason why he targets that card to bring it back. So after a very strong opening from Shaun, a very commanding victory in the first game, selling his opponent down the water with an Utopia.
Yeah, that was a very cool play. It's nice to see Utopia on the top tables, but Eugen knowing exactly how to pick apart Shaun's strategy, and he makes sure that he tries to keep that Winder up as much as possible against Shaun,
yes.
And playing trap stuns to ensure that that card stuck around for as long as possible.
Yeah, Winder definitely the MVP in that match, no question about it. I think one of the reasons why I think without Winder, Tellarknights would be having a much easier time, of course.
In that matchup, yeah, they'd be a lot better off without Winder. We've seen in most of the other games, a lot of people go for Construct as quick as possible.
Exactly.
But this is definitely one of the matches where you want Winder to slow your opponent down as much as possible when their rank 4 toolbox is so strong in the extra deck.
Yes, I think that's one factor. If somebody has been playing Shadow for like only so long, he knows that Construct is such a good card. So most of the time he will simply go for the Construct, not really think about what other options he has. And Winder is that much better against Tellarknights.
Yes, the Tellarknight deck has an attack cap of 1800 before it uses the extra deck. Knowing the attack caps of decks can allow you to capitalize on you can get a lot of information of knowing how your opponent has to respond to certain monsters in order to just destroy monsters in battle. 2200 that your opponent can only summon once per turn. The Tellarknight has to do something about the Winder in order to even be able to declare an attack. There's no other cards in the deck that can get over your Winder.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So that means that Shaun is out of the competition. Eugen is still very much alive. He has to win 1 more round, the last round today,
yep.
The last round in the Swiss portion of the tournament, before we perform the second cut of the tournament. In case you're new to this, again, yesterday, 1,195 players have signed up for this tournament. We whittled it down to 256. It's 3 more rounds today. 2 of those you've already seen on the stream. There will be 1 more. We'll be back with that round for the feature after a short break.
My key. Oh. Whoa, it's my dream.
This is no dream. Have you the courage to unlock this power?
New power.
It is time to decide, Yuma.
Have you the courage?
What will it
He
be?
has the courage.
All right, let's blow! What was that? And what's all this? Whoa, that was weird. Oh, hey, my key. It's totally fixed. Huh?
Yes, and you are in a fix!
Yes, Shark. Let the number take hold.
Yeah! I overlay level 3. Big Jaws and Kraken. Now I can build the overlay network. Now, number 17, Leviathan Dragon. Be born!
Welcome back. We're here with Eugen Heidt, the winner of round 10, still in the competition. Congratulations on your victory.
Thank you.
You are playing Shaddolls as well, and you just went up against Tellarknights.
Yeah.
Was that the first time this weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I had a lot of mirror matches, one Burning Abyss, but no Tellarknight.
Okay. What's happening in your head when you're going into this match? Are you like, I would have loved to play another mirror match? I would have loved to go up against Burning Abyss? Or are you like, it doesn't matter?
Yeah. The Tellarknight is kind of annoying when they play 3 Shadow Mirror main, like my opponent did. And yeah, without the side deck, only 1 Double Cyclone, 1 Trap Stun against this. And that sucks.
Right. So Shaun did take the first game in pretty cool way with Utopia on the field, and he activated Raigeki earlier. We were celebrating that. We were like, wow, we're seeing some old school cards here. What is your feeling when that happens, especially when you're in the feature match area over there? Are you getting more nervous about this?
Yeah, but because everyone see it, and if I make a mistake, it's even worse.
Yes. Were there any mistakes you made in the second or in the third game?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't know.
I'm not 100% sure either. I think on the Twitch chat some people were like, I'm not sure about this play. All right. So what happened after the first game? What is your process? What cards are you introducing from your side deck here?
It was 2 Raikus, 2 Mystical Space Typhoon, 2 Trapstun, and 1 Malevolent Catastrophe.
Okay. What's your thinking here? Why do you pick these cards?
That's because the Tellarknight only wins with the traps.
Okay.
I mean, if I have Window on the field, they can't do much, except if they have Breakthrough skill.
Yes.
And they only win with Shadow Mirror and Prison, and
you can play around those cards.
Yeah, if I destroy those cards, it's not so bad.
Easy going.
Yeah.
We have seen some players that when they are first being introduced to the Shadow deck, they think that they always have to go for Construct first. Whereas in this matchup, it seemed that Winder is the stronger card. Winder, would you agree that Winder is better against Tellarknights?
Yeah, against the Tellarknight, yeah.
Okay. And do you think that there are some less experienced players that will just go for Construct, not knowing that Winder is the better card against Tellarknights?
I don't think so.
You don't think?
Maybe. But
maybe once or twice, but then they...
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes you have to go to Construct if they have a big exceed and...
Right. So you have been on a roll as of late. You became the European champion, and then after that you advanced to the semi-finals in YCS Madrid, and now you're here and you have another chance to win the tournament or advance to the top 32. Is that what is going on in your mind when you're going to these events? Are you like, I have to win this one?
Yeah, my goal is to win, or at least to top.
At least to top?
Yeah.
That's your minimum goal every time. And then do you readjust your goal, or are you like, okay, I'm in the top 32, I'm fine now? Or do you like, okay, now I want to go to the top 8?
No, when I'm top 32, I want to go.
Okay.
Continue.
So you then change your goal.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much. Congratulations again on your victory.
Thank you.
We hope to see you again in the top 32.
Yeah. Okay.